It's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Sandra Davis Marshall with Be an Artist.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an honor for you to come here. She's you're down by Safeway on 40th Street and Chandler.
Yes.
So you're at the Safeway store, and then so you're walking down the Safeway store, there's the Early Bakery, the place sells tea, and then you're right there.
And then we're right there. There's like a planter in front, so a lot of people don't see us.
Well, they're going to be seeing you right now.
Yay!
Let me read your bio. It's long. If it's too long, tell me to stop. Inspired by a love of nature and extensive travels to Europe, especially Italy, Arizona artist Sandra Marshall draws from a plethora of stored mental images she has captured over the years. Sandra's main focus is on contemporary botanical paintings, creating sought-after works of art that offer unique color combinations that are exquisitely rich and harmonious. Her flowers are rendered in rhythmic, organic compositions in rich oils and mixed media on canvas. Her love for music is often depicted in her paintings with her botanicals that she has often been told look like they are dancing and have a musical quality. Her awareness of rhythm and balance helps her to create fun energy that helps to convey the beauty all around her. Early on, Sandra showed a talent and love of color and art and always drew or painted, receiving accolades from teachers and others who saw her work. After studying color and painting in her early years in a private art institute with Jean Fitzhenry, she became an accomplished in a variety of medias, including oils, pastels, acrylics, and mixed media, and later earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in education with an emphasis in art education painting. A New York native, Sandra is a master colorist and attributes her passion to childhood trips into New York City to visit the museums and galleries. Sandra's mom, an accomplished wildlife photographer and gardener who always had an eye for composition, was a big influence in Sandra's love for nature and flowers. She also worked as an art director for 3 Ball Productions in Hollywood, in addition to painting backdrops for the Disney Channel and working on set designs. Before marrying and starting a family back in the States, Sandra studied art in Italy, which led to co-creating an inventive company in Italy called Porta a Porta, which means door to door in Italian. Sandra would bring aspiring artists from the United States and fly them to Italy, and while under her instruction, the students would learn to paint as they were surrounded by the stunning Tuscan hillsides. Sandra has used her combination of color mastery, painting, and teaching skills to design a career that has been immensely satisfying for both herself and her clients. In addition to her works of arts, as she continues to push the boundaries of color and beauty, Sandra volunteers in schools with her successful I Draw, You Draw program. Says Sandra, my mind is constantly coming up with new designs and ideas of things to paint, and I enjoy sharing that enthusiasm with my students. The excitement of each new painting is like taking a voyage to an unknown place. The anticipation, exploration, and the journey, I can't get enough. And your website is just your name, Sandra.
That was before the studio. And then I had children, so I hadn't been traveling to Italy anymore, and then the studio happened, and it's all because of my kids.
And how many kids, and how old are they?
I have 2 children, and they're 14 and 11. She just
14 and 11.
Yes, but when they were little, 8 and 10 years old, we were walking through the plaza there, and it was vacant, and they said, oh, Mom, look at this place. This is your new art studio, 8 and 10 years old. And I said, you know, if Mom opens an art studio, you 2 are going to live there because Daddy works a lot. And my son says, go get your cell phone, Mom. He's a little businessman. Go get your cell phone, go get your cell phone. And my daughter's like, yeah, this is your new studio. And I'm like, that's crazy. So I got my phone and I actually called the guy from Kimco, and just things kept rolling. And they kept saying, Mom, that's your studio. We'll go with you. We'll go with you. And they've been there for 3 years, over 3 years now.
It's been 3 years now.
It's been over 3 years.
Wow.
Yes.
So, well, you have 2 websites. You have the beanartistaz.com and your name, sandramarshall.com. Let's talk about which one you want to talk about first.
Beanartistaz.com. That's my new life for the past 3 years. So that is really, this was before we opened that, and then this has taken over.
It's so beautiful. I wish you got to go to www.beanartistaz.com. So for people who haven't seen you back there or walked in your store, what are they going to find in your store and on your website?
It is definitely sensory overload when you walk in. We have so many things that go on over there, and the beauty of owning your own place is you could come up with new things and people can't tell you, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. And being an artist and a creative type, my mind just is constantly going, thinking of different things that I could bring to the community. And Ahwatukee, I've been here since '92. And it's just been, I watched it grow, and this is my home base.
You've been here since '92.
92.
So I got here in
Yes.
'87, and you got here in 1992.
Yes.
So what's 2018 minus 1992? Come on, Ryan, you're supposed to have a calculator.
What is that?
2018 minus 1992. She's been here
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
What is it?
26.
Been here 26 years. Congratulations.
It's a long time.
It is a long time.
long
So
time.
to be in business 3 years later, I mean, most businesses that go out of, like a new restaurant, I mean, it's something like 40% go bankrupt in the first 2 years. So obviously, you're winning.
It's been amazing. It's truly, and I have to thank my kids and so many different people that have just pushed me forward saying, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I had like a whole cheering section. So that's been really,
And
really
what
nice.
is the core of your business? Is it mostly individuals coming in that want to develop artists, or is it more birthday parties? Is it more?
I would say the majority would be parties for children and adults, like painting parties, but then we have some other events. Every month, for instance, we have a comedy night. And the comedy night
we're going
is,
to we're going to that. Ryan,
Yes.
we got to get this. Can we her
What's up?
next comedy night? What day is it?
It's this Friday
11.
night.
We actually have it blocked off on our calendar. We're going to
Yeah.
do it.
So
Yeah, you
can
have
we
to
get
come.
her podcast out next? Put it to the front of the line.
That'd be great.
We have a 25-day queue, and we'll put up next because we're going to go to that on Friday night.
You'll love it. You'll love it. And we've had 3 years straight of comedians. And
Oh, this is an annual event.
it's every month. And
Oh,
it goes all
every
through the
month.
year. Yes.
Now, is there a formula? Like, is it the second Friday of every month, or is it?
We were doing First Fridays, but I have to go on whether the comedians are available.
Oh, I see.
And we get people from VH1, MTV, Last Comic Standing. We get locals that are just overly talented. And now the best thing is, you would think be an artist. They'd hear be an artist. Like, why would I want to go to be an artist? And now the comedians are talking to each other. And they're calling me because they have, our studio has what comedians love called good laughs. And good laughs are when the room is filled with people that are just truly having a good time and laughing out loud. I have a lot of videos on our website or on our Facebook page, and you could see the different
Now, do you
comedians
know
that are coming
Tony
in.
Visich?
No.
Tony Visich is the only one in the state of Arizona. He lives in Maricopa, but he actually has the only comedy school at Tempe Center for the Performing Arts.
Oh.
And then his buddy has the improv class. And I'm 55, and when I turned 50, I was looking at that one day. I was on Ahwatukee Foothills News, and it's like, I thought I'd check it out. So I did the comedy school.
Oh, did
It
you?
was 3 nights a week for 6 weeks. It was so much
improv?
fun.
Was it improv?
Well, no, that was a separate class, the improv class. But I'll have to hook you up with Tony Visich. Remind me to say name because he knows every single comedian that's ever
that's a good contact.
delivered one time in the state of Arizona. He's been doing it for he'll get mad at me when I say this. I'm 55. He's older than me. And but anyway, I always tell him he has gray hair, and he always says, "Well, at least I have hair."
At least.
But so this will be the third time you've had the comedy club.
Oh, third year.
Oh, third year.
Yeah, third year.
You've been
We've
doing
going
it once
strong,
a month
and
for
we
3
are
years.
sold out. Every show is just about sold out. We've had a few here and there, but they are just.
Now, how many people can fit inside
We
there?
fit the play. We have about 85 people.
That's
fit
a
in.
lot of people.
Yeah, and once a month we pack it out and we do black tail. It doesn't look like a paint studio. Like right now, if you walked in, you would say, "How is this going to be a classy comedy club?" But when you walk in on comedy night, I have these friends, Linda and Ralphie, and they're like, they love to clean, so they come in and they like make the place shine.
Well, it's so true because I've known a lot of comedians through Tony and taking that class, and they all said the same thing, that when you're a professional comedian, everybody shows up to listen to your jokes. But when you're an amateur comedian, you're in bars and people are drinking and they're
Yes.
talking with each other and they're not focused, and the audience is everything. And so
And that's why we've become known to have these good laughs, and it's just a good vibe, and they just keep coming back for more.
So how did an art place go into comedy? It was like peanut butter with chocolate.
Yes. Well,
How did you
it all
find out those go
started way
together?
back in the day before we opened. I'll take you from the beginning.
3
When I
years
was
ago.
thinking about opening the studio, I was going to write my business plan, and I got picked for a special program from Kimco, which is an amazing real estate company, and they support the arts and support different new businesses. So we came in, and I had to write my business plan. And being an artist, I just don't think that way, if you've ever had to write like a strict business plan. So I went to Barnes & Noble to focus and write it, and they were closing that day. So I went up to the window, and I saw a lady inside there, and I was waving because I wanted to buy a piece of furniture. That was such a special place to have in our community, and it's such a loss that when it went away. So I wanted to purchase a piece of furniture from the children's section, and the lady came out and she says, "You look like you have something to say." And I said, "I'm going to miss this place so much, and I came to write my business plan, and I would like to buy a piece of furniture." And she takes my hand and she says like this, "Take whatever you want." In the entire Barnes & Noble, all the beautiful wood furniture, shelves, tables. And I looked at her and she said, "We just called, we got junk because they thought they had a business coming in and they needed to get out, and they were going to chop up all the furniture." And so it was like I was like a kid in the candy store, and I didn't even have the studio yet. But I was thinking, boy, this is a gift. This might be a sign. I'm always looking for stuff like that. And so we had an hour to go in and get whatever we could out of there. And this lady, Carol, was putting stuff aside, and she's like, hurry, go get the U-Haul and come back. So we got a U-Haul, and I'm like, it's all big, heavy furniture. And my aunt and uncle were there with me, and we couldn't lift any of it. 5 guys came out, loaded all the furniture, brought it to the storage. The storage guy said, "First 2 months are on me." And I'm thinking, this is so bizarre. Like, little things like that have happened in the last 3 years. Like, just lining themselves up. And they loaded the furniture, took it out, and I said, "Who are you guys?" After they unloaded it in the storage bin, I said, "Who are you?" "You're a bunch of angels helping me out here." And they said, "We stocked those shelves for the last 10 years, and we don't want to see this stuff chopped up and, thrown in a dumpster." So they brought all the furniture into my house and storage. And then I'm like, I have to do this. I just have to do this. So we have a little library that's outside our studio, and the little library is from the children's section at Barnes & Noble. It's only been empty once because recently somebody emptied it of all our books, but then I put it on a website.
What do you mean someone emptied it?
Somebody came in and they must have really liked to read because
You mean
they
you
took
got broken
every
into?
book. Well, we leave it out day and night, and it had never been empty until about a month ago, and somebody cleared it out. So I just think it's somebody that really liked to read. I'm just staying positive.
People are so funny.
But then the next day, it was full again. Full, completely full from new books because I put it on our social media, Ahwatukee 411.
Yeah.
And everyone stepped up, and that's how our community is. And that's what I love about Ahwatukee. It was filled the next day, and it's still full a month later.
Nice. Way to
Yep.
go, Ahwatukee
Woo!
411.
Yes. Thank you, Ahwatukee.
That is, it is, and that's why I love this community.
Yes, and it stays outside day and night.
So what is in Barnes & Noble now?
Oh, right now it's Home Goods.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Home Goods moved
Yeah,
in.
it's and it seems like there's a lot of empty retail. Like even where you're at, there's how many empty spaces?
I think there's only one left.
Oh, so it's
But
filling
they're
back up.
Yeah, they do a good job over there.
Yeah.
And it's a great plaza. It's just people don't see us that often. We've been there 3 years, and we have people come in all the time and say, "We had no idea you were here."
That's the most common email I get out of these podcasts. They say, I have an hour commute from the foothills to downtown. I'm tired of talk radio.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be talking about some business, and they've driven by it for years.
Yeah.
And either didn't know it was there or didn't know the story. By the way, you're into flowers. That new, what's that new flower Chinese restaurant?
Peony Garden Buffet.
Peony?
Yeah, peony.
Peony, they're from Taiwan, and that's the most popular flower in Taiwan and China, and they named their restaurant after that. You have to go in there and
check it out.
look at that flower.
Yes.
So you said the majority of what you're doing now is parties.
We do a lot of parties, and I love children. I have my degree in elementary education. My parents wouldn't let me get an art degree. They're like, no, you're already an artist, just get a degree. And I thought an education degree would be well-rounded, even if I didn't teach.
Yeah, but if you wanted to teach art, you'd have to have that.
Oh yeah,
degree,
if I
right?
wanted to. I just got a degree in regular elementary ed.
I mean, Einstein used to always joke that he couldn't teach in Chicago because, you know, here he was a Nobel Prize winning physicist, but he didn't have the teaching requirements to teach physics. I hate to ask this question, I would have to sound sexist, but are those more little girl birthday parties or also little boy birthday parties?
Oh yeah, boys and girls.
50-50?
No. 75-25.
Okay, so I was right.
Yeah.
I was right. I had a hunch.
And when the boys come in, I love watching them because they're like, I'm not painting, especially like the 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds. They're too cool. And then they get in and they're like, I could paint my favorite Pokemon card, or I could paint a Fortnite painting, you know, whatever they're into. They're allowed to paint whatever they want.
I'm proud of you that you know what Fortnite is. I just learned what Fortnite was 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I finally asked Ryan, "What is this Fortnite?"
I know
but
they come in and they
like night.
It's NITE.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
It's a video game. It's like Call of Duty or I'm so old. It's Pac-Man, I guess. It's Pac-Man.
It's like Pac-Man. Yeah.
It's like Pac-Man.
Interactive Pac-Man. You could play
interactive
with your friends.
Pac-Man. That's a good way to describe it. So let's start with the boys since I have 4 boys, so I'm being selfish. So on a boy birthday party, like what would have been? We
did a clay birthday party.
Clay. So making a clay pot.
We gave them hammers. They actually made superhero plaques out of clay. So we had hammers, rollers, sharp things. Boys love sharp things. And they were cutting out different designing their own superhero plaque, and each one was cooler than the next. They're like, yeah, look at mine. And then they painted it that day because we used fast dry clay. So they loved it. And then with the painting, the cool thing about the painting parties is you don't necessarily have to, a lot of people are intimidated. If I give you a white canvas, you might be like, oh man, you know, this is intimidating because you don't know where to start. But what we do is we have the kids paint the backgrounds with a mix of colors that are only going to make successful colors. So we'll give a little boy blue, green, white, and yellow. You can't make a bad color with those colors. You can't make mud.
Blue, green,
white, and yellow.
Okay, now I'm having flashbacks.
Friends.
Who was that man with the big afro that always painted
Ross.
on? Bob Ross.
Yes.
My boys loved Bob Ross, especially that one right there. So blue, green, so that's going to be like water and grass and whites. Yeah. Okay.
And
or are you talking about mixing them?
Yeah, they mix them. We give them a palette.
Okay.
We teach them art words, like this is your palette, and then we say stuff like, what are you going to do with the little kids? Oh, does this go on your head? No. They all scream, and they all get all excited about it. Do we throw it like a Frisbee? Because some kids might do that, and they get a kick out of it. And then we just get started, and they see that it's not an intimidating art place, like, oh, we're going to do this. You know, like museums. It's like, oh, don't touch that. Don't do. This place is all hands-on, and we get messy. We wear aprons. There's paint everywhere. But they love it. They love it.
What is that cavern that cave they discovered down in South Arizona, Kartchner Cabin? I remember I was so excited when they opened. I took my 4 boys down there, and the whole tour is on a sidewalk, and there's lights hung on the top. Mm-hmm. And one of my little boys reached out and touched the side of the wall of the cave, and the lady screamed at him and scolded him. And I'm like, would you chill out? Someone was in here with freaking cement hanging wires, and my boy touched the wall. What is this? You know, is it some kind of cave religion?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So you can imagine how kids feel in a museum.
So now, does mom and dad do you pick a menu like it's going to be clay or painting?
Yeah.
Or
it's mostly painting.
Mostly
I would say
painting.
mostly painting. That's been
like
the
what
favorite.
percent?
I would say now 80%.
80%.
We used to mix it up because I was crazy and had too many offers, and now too many things to offer, and now we've kind of narrowed it down. And the painting, our parties are, I could confidently say, they are the best kids parties in the valley or more. And we've had kids come back. This is their 3rd year having their birthday parties, so that's like the ultimate compliment.
So the menu, 80% painting, then what percent would clay be?
Oh, that would just be about 10%.
10%. And
we do
anything else on
miniatures
the menu?
in clay too. like little miniatures in clay. We do abstract painting. We do a mixture of different type of painting types. The favorite type of party would be you come in, we give you your palette. They get to mix all their colors. So if we give them yellow, orange, red, if they're a warmer kind of person that they want those colors, it'll only make good colors. We turn the music up, we crank the music up. This is for adults too. And we do this for team builders with corporate events. You should see
Nice.
like the FedEx came in and we had Intel people. So engineers are coming in and they're very detailed. So it's so fun watching them go from, oh, I don't know if I could paint this, to all of a sudden loosening up with the music playing, and we have a stage and sound system. And
wow! Now they're going to see all this on the website if they go to.
You can do it. I should have brought stuff and had you paint a painting here.
beanartistaz.com. Are there?
Yes.
But I mean, are there photos of this or video?
Oh yeah, there's photos all over Facebook. I post a lot on, and that's.
So how? But you're saying the majority of your business right now is children's birthday parties
And adults. Yeah, children's birthday parties are on weekends. Adults, we have night parties.
Okay, so on the my thought is always that when people are looking at YouTube, they're always alone. YouTube is 80% boys, so they're listening all alone, and girls are more on a medium where they can interact with each other. They're more social, but so I'm just trying to. For the person commuting to work, listening to this by himself in the car, how many people are in so birthday parties for kids are usually on the weekends, and what is the size of the average birthday parties?
We've
5 kids, 10?
8 is the minimum.
8 is the minimum?
8 is the minimum party, and then we've had up to 75.
Dang, that place must be huge.
Yeah, it's 2,200 square feet, so we have a lot of space.
That's a 2,200 square foot home without all the kitchens and dining rooms. That is a big place. So birthday parties are, and how much would a birthday party be for 10 kids?
For 10 kids, that's 300.
So 10 kids, 300.
300.
And
they go home with a finished canvas. And the way we do it with the adults and with the kids, we usually do, like for the adult parties, they kind of like a step-by-step kind of thing. So we're showing you how to paint a sunset desertscape. And we
kind of like Bob Ross for your...
It is. It's just like that.
Was he one of your heroes?
You know what? He was. And he has a great place in this world. He really does. He did amazing things and got people really interested in art.
He passed away, right?
Yeah, he passed away. But who doesn't like him? I can't think of anybody who wouldn't like Bob Ross.
And he reminds me of the guy from Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers.
Yes, and just Mr. Rogers, he's another one. He's
just two great artists trying to bring more peace in the world.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
And so our birthday parties, I assume they're all on Saturday, but are you open Sundays?
We have them during the week, and the thing is...
Are you open Sunday?
We are open Sundays too, yes.
Yeah.
And right now, we're just doing different parties and events. We're not open all the time. So if somebody comes by, we might not be open, and that's because I've had a terrible time finding help that will be as excited as I am. And I always say I'd rather be closed, and if we're not going to give them the experience that I could give them or another gal that works with me could give them. There's only 2 of us there right now.
Well, this is the tightest labor market we've had in a decade. I mean, it's under 4%. And they always say 5% is the minimum because the economists have always said that 5% of the population doesn't want a job or they don't like the job. They're looking for the right job. So when you're under 4%, it is hard to find employees right now.
And then add artist into that and teacher. And it's a tough mix. Because you have to be able to teach somebody to paint. They come in there to learn how to do something. And if you're a great artist, sometimes you don't want to teach and you just want to be in your own space, and you don't want to come in on a Thursday when you're inspired and you want to work at home. And it's been a whoo.
Brian, send her and Angie an email.
Okay.
One of my friends, Angie, who's also from Kansas, she seems just like you.
Oh, yeah?
And she's a programmer.
Oh.
But programming is her job, and artistry is her vocation.
Oh.
And I want to introduce you two.
That'd be great.
So, and then send her another email with Tony Visage. Do you have his email?
Yeah, I can find it.
If not, I'll put her contact in. I got him in my iPhone.
Who's Tony?
Tony, he's a teacher at the comedy club.
Oh.
Because
okay.
the Tempe Center for the Performing Arts has a lot of, that's a lot of artists, whether it's be comedy or, or improv or whatever.
Yeah.
But Angie lives in, or works in Ahwatukee.
Oh.
And she might be a good friend. I'm
Yeah.
sure she'll go down there and have some fun. So 25% of the boy parties, 75% of the girl parties, most of the children's
Some
parties
of them
on
are
the
mixed.
weekend.
Like when the kids have a birthday party, sometimes they bring their whole class. So we have 30 boys and girls.
So now let's switch to adults. Adults are during the day are working. So is most of your activity for adults after work, or do you have a lot of day programs?
We have like a party that we'll call up a corporate event, and they'll say, "Can we do a Tuesday during the day for our corporate event?" And so we'll invite them on over, and they'll do a whole big party during the day. We used to have a cooking school in the back section.
Wow.
Yeah, we tried that too because I think Ahwatukee, somebody open a cooking school. I think it would be a fantastic addition to our community.
And a Long John Silver's. I've been waiting 30 years for a Long John Silver's.
Yeah, they
really?
finally got their Dutch brothers.
85,000.
Everybody was like, "Where?"
You can't find one city
Long
of
John
85,000
Silver's.
people in America that doesn't have a Long John Silver's. And that was my diet
never
tip for the
eaten
day.
it.
You've never eaten at a Long John
Never.
Silver's? They didn't have them in New York?
No, not that I know of.
Well, they're headquartered out of Iowa, so
Oh,
I was
okay,
born and
it's
raised in
probably
Kansas.
Midwestern,
It's a
yeah.
Midwestern thing. So what would be the average size of a corporate event?
Corporate event, usually 30 people, 40 people.
So
Yeah.
would you call that small business then?
Yeah.
Is it small business or is it more 30, 40 people from a department? Like
A department, yeah.
A department
the
at a
department
bigger...
head brings them in, and
Okay.
they're just supposed to get together. And the fun thing about our corporate events is they're kind of off the wall, and they don't expect this when they come in here because they're painting their paintings with their backgrounds, and everything's step by step. But then there's always a drying process. So if you have blue, green, white, and yellow, you can't put a purple on top of that because it'll turn to mud, like nasty brown. And so we have a drying process in between. So we take the adults outside, and we have these parachutes back from like PE time. You remember the parachutes in PE class?
Oh, how could I forget?
Yes. So
Really?
we put all of these paintings on the ground, and we have these parachutes, and we dry the paintings, the first coat, with the parachutes. And the adults scream louder than the children. I'm not kidding. Like the engineers were all quiet at first, like, what are we doing? And then I threw like this little monkey on top, and it like brought them back to their childhood.
Ryan, did you go with us on the parachuting deal?
Yes.
Yeah, we that was one corporate event we did. The lady from accounting, that was her bucket list, so we all drove to Eloy. So
And you actually? Oh, we don't do that.
Yeah, but we did that one time. But that was a corporate event. But what I was going to say about a corporate event is, we did that one time on her anniversary. That's what she wanted, and people talk about that to this day.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's when you get out of your ordinary.
because
that
most small businesses, I think they ruin the party where they think, oh, I guess we'll just have it at the founder's house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's boring. It'd be 10 times more fun to go bowling than go to somebody's house. And this is a corporate event. My head's already going that I want to do this because these are memories. Memories
We've had
last a long time.
Office. The last dental office came in and they painted glassware.
Now, was that Dr. Todd's office?
No, he hasn't been in yet.
He hadn't been in yet?
Yeah, it was a different Desert Dentistry, I think.
Tom Mattern?
I think it
Tom
was.
Mattern
I think.
and
I hope I'm saying the right.
Yeah, Tom Mattern owns Desert Dentistry.
He was really nice and friendly. He came. I think that
My
was.
age, same weight.
You know what? It's
It was.
all a blur.
It's all a blur?
I remember him being very nice though, and I think we painted glassware if I remember correctly. We have a lot of.
How many
parties in
people
there.
came to his?
That was probably 30.
Yeah, that has to be Tom. We went to college together.
Oh, did you?
And it was so fun because we were two dentists in Ahwatukee who each had 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So to have the night off, I would dump my 4 kids at his house on Friday night and get the night
nice.
off.
I wonder
And
if
then
it was
Saturday
him.
night, he'd dump his 4 kids off. So for a decade, we all got one night off.
Is that the white building on Chandler?
The old Applebee's.
Yes, I think it's them.
Yeah.
They came in, and I think they've been there more than once. I think we've done a couple with them, and then we have just a few other dentist offices I can't remember, and dentists that come in.
Yeah.
That do. But what they love about it is because it's something where, you go to an office party and you have drinks and the veggie plate and you're talking. This is so much more interactive, and you have something to talk about. So it lessens the anxiety of, it'll be like being at work. It just makes it more fun because you're.
And
doing
I cringe
crazy
when
things.
you hear patients talk, then they'll say things like, "Oh my God, we had a corporate party or this, that, and I drank too much." And I'm sort of thinking of the legal. Your husband's a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if someone goes to your corporate party at work or the owner's house and gets too much to drink, on the way home has an accident.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I mean that's a huge legal liability.
Yes. It is.
Yeah, and every 5 or 10 years, even my own team will say, "Well, can we make margaritas at this party we're having at our office?" And I'm like, "No, unless you can go get a lawyer to write
Right.
unless you can get a lawyer to write me that this is a really good idea."
Yeah, and we have our BYOB, but most of the doctors' offices and lawyers and different businesses that come in for corporate events, they don't bring alcohol.
Yeah.
And they really don't need it too, because you lighten up when at first they come in and they're kind of like, "What are we doing here? I don't paint." You don't have to know how to paint to come out with a painting. That's awesome. And that's a guarantee from us.
So you got my head spun. You keep saying blue, green, white, yellow. What are the 3 primary colors?
Well, if you have like reds, we only give red, yellow, orange, and white.
But what are the 3 primary colors?
The blue, yellow, and red.
Blue, yellow,
Because you could make
red.
all the colors. You could make purple with the blue and red. You could make green from the yellow and blue. You could make orange from the yellow and red. But if I always tell the kids that come in, because they're still young, if you like to paint, study the color wheel when your teacher shows you, because they think it's boring. But there is a reason that you learn that, because you won't be making poop brown paintings.
And what color would you get if you mix all 3 of the primary colors? Blue,
like
yellow,
a brown. It's like a, yeah.
Just
Yeah.
natural
A
brown.
natural brown, yes.
Yeah, you really know your stuff.
Well, we show the kids too. We and the adults. We say, little Jimmy over here wants to go steal some yellow. He's painting in blues and purples, and he says, "Oh, I want Bella's colors." So I said, "Let me show you what happens when you go and steal from your friends." So we have this big joke: friends don't let friends share paint. Because you'll end up getting nasty brown. And I always say to the other gal, "Should we show them?" And she's like, "No, it's too disgusting." And they're like, "Show us." So we show them how.
So all your classes, obviously by appointment only, reservation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And how do they contact you for that? Is that on
beanartistaz.com?
beanartistaz.com.
And we also have a full stage and sound system there. And that has been, my husband thought I was absolutely nuts at first, because I stopped at a sale where I saw all the sound equipment, and I was like, I'm going to go buy that. So I stopped and I looked, and they had a microphone from Rockefeller Center from New York. And the lady said her husband had passed away, and they were selling all the sound equipment. And I was like, it's another sign. I meant to buy this. And I didn't know what any of it did. And everyone thought that I had this big plan of what the place was going to be, what Be an Artist would be, and it just evolved. So we brought the sound equipment home, and I'm tiptoeing up the stairs, and my husband, who's a lawyer and very organized, catches me, and he says, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just sound equipment." He's like, "What does it do?" And I said, "Don't worry. Art, music, they all go together." And so I had somebody come in and show me how to hook it up. And we have used that. Within the first week, we had a recital in there with ACT Theater, Ahwatukee Children's Theater. We were packed with over 100 people in there watching the kids perform on stage. So my husband walks in and he's like, he shakes his head, because I had to use the sound equipment to show him that we were going to use it. So we booked this event, and he walks in and there's like 100 people with kids singing on stage, and he was like, "Okay, I get it."
So besides weekend birthdays, evenings, and during the week corporates, what about an individual? Do you have individual?
Yes, we have open paint times.
You have open paint. What are your open paint times? Do they vary?
And this is where it gets tricky. Yes, they vary, and you have to. The best thing to do is to call in and see when we or go onto our website and see when we post open paint times, because I just don't have the help there right now to be open all the time. So we'll call, like this Thursday night, we're making Mother's Day gifts for Mother's Day. They could come in for 2 hours and paint Mom whatever she likes.
Who is that?
That's Valerie, the comedian, one of the comedians. We have 3 comedians for this.
Now, we're going to release this. We're going to put this at the front line for Friday night.
Great.
And you still have openings for Friday night?
Yes, we do.
And who's the comedian Friday night?
We have Stuart Preston. Stuart Preston is opening with Valerie Williams. We have 2 openers.
Oh, so that's Valerie.
Yes.
Okay.
She's one of the comedians. So she'll come on after Stuart. And then we have our Isaac the comedian. And he's a magician and a comedian. So the comedic magician, I guess you would call him. And he has been here before, so I could vouch for him that he is really funny. And it's something different. It's $16, and it's BYOB, so people have their tables. We only have, like I said, around 90 seats. So what we do is if you have 10 people, we sit you at a table of 10. Put nice black tablecloths on, candlelight, and it's a whole different studio. It's a lounge. It's swanky.
It's swanky?
It's swanky.
I mean, these are all pictures from inside your studio.
Yes, we've been on, this is at the TV stations. We've been on television, 25 times in the last few years. We had our own little B&R show.
Is that you?
That's me.
Wow. Arizona midday?
Yeah. We hit every local channel.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. And I love your passions. So when is the usual? I'm trying to find on your website when you see the schedule for an individual.
Usually just post it on the front. And there's a calendar on there.
Okay, so go to the calendar.
Yeah, you go to the calendar.
And what do you call those 3 little lines? I call it the hamburger.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know about that hamburger. I was having a debate with my web guy.
I know, it's a new thing.
Nobody knows where to go. But you could also call me. The best thing to do is call me, and I'll get back to you right away. I'm good about that.
So just look, Thursday morning painting. So you have classes. So like Thursday morning, 9 to 11 is a Thursday morning paint class?
Yeah, we get a lot of retirees that come into that class, and I teach that, and I pretty much teach everything over there.
Yeah.
But they just learn. We had a 96-year-old man start painting for the first time, 96 years old, and his daughter bought him 4 sessions. She came in at Christmas and said, "My dad's in a wheelchair. I bought him everything that he could ever have. I'm going to buy him painting classes." He hardly lifts his head up, and he's depressed. And he came in. I have a video on our Facebook page, and he came in and with his caregiver. She wheeled him in, and he was real shaky. And that's okay when you paint. It's okay to be a little bit shaky.
Is it really?
Yeah, because it just
go with the flow.
It's hard. Yeah, go with the flow. And we set up his canvas, and I said, "What would you like to paint today?" And he said, "I've never painted anything in my life except my barn in the Midwest, the wall in the barn." And I said, "Well, why don't we find a picture on the internet of your barn, or one that looks like it. Let's do a painting of your barn. Do you have fond memories of that barn?" And he says, "Yes, I do." So we got a painting canvas, set it up, and he spent 4 sessions with his head up, like shaking a little bit, painting his haystacks and his barn. He was in another world, and his caregiver said that she had never seen him so happy, and he couldn't wait to come back again. And that's the kind of thing, that's what feeds my soul. Stuff like that. And so we have 2-year-olds, and we have 96-year-olds.
So you're next to the Safeway on Chandler.
Yes.
So the Safeway, there's another one. There's 2 Safeways in Ahwatukee. The other one's on Elliott.
Yes.
48th and Elliott.
Foothills. Yep. 3.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. There's 3. There's one down the foothills. Hal is he still works there, and he's going to turn 100. He says he's not thinking about retiring until he's going to hit 100. I think he's 95.
Oh.
And I said, I always tease him. I said, "Hal, when are you going to retire?" And he goes, "Well, I'm going to start thinking that maybe when I'm 100, I'm going to retire."
Oh.
But he says that's the whole secret. To why he thinks what it is. He says he never ate healthy. He never ate right. He says I drank. I still do. He says I look at my diet and I shouldn't be 100. But he said the difference was he never stopped moving. Mm-hmm. And he said that he has been watching people retire with their life, their job, their career, sit on the couch, stare at the TV, and fall off.
Gotta keep going.
And he says, I said, "What do you like the most about working at Safeway?" And he goes, well, looking at all these beautiful women coming in shopping. And then he laughs. And but I mean, he's like my role model. And
that's fantastic.
And I've been a dentist for 30 years, and I can tell you the same thing. I have so many friends who are still practicing at 75. One of my best friend dentists, Kenny Anderson, just celebrated his 50th anniversary. But you know who the oldest dentist I ever knew in my life?
Oh.
George Rui, 92.
Wow.
And he died. He still had patients when he died.
Oh, wow.
He was still
92 years
practicing. Well, and people say, well, who would go to a 92-year-old dentist? All of his 90 and 80-year-old patients had been with him 50 years.
Aww.
He was so adorable. He would. He said that this is why I wouldn't have observed him for a day. I mean, I wouldn't have spent a day with him. I think when I was there, he was 88 or not.
So you went in for the day to
Oh,
watch him work?
Hell yeah! I wanted to see what this was like, because what it was, he says, I went to his house. He got up, took a shower, and and had his eggs and bacon, everything wrong. But then he'd go and he'd have a morning patient, and then say it'd be someone been with him 50 years. He'd work on them, and then they would go to lunch. And then in the afternoon he'd come back, and he'd have a one patient the afternoon, and then they would go to dinner.
But it'd keep
So every
social.
night,
That was
yeah.
his life.
And that, did you read that Blue Zone book?
No.
The Blue Zone book is that there's 10 blue zones around the world that has a 10-fold increase in people living to be 100. And it's just so statistical. I mean, a 10x difference, and I mean, a 10-fold is just huge. And one of the most important things that they noticed with these people is their increase in social, whether it was church or community, or they're still working. They're involved in something with other people. And so, yeah, he loved dentistry, but he really loved seeing a patient that he's known for 50 years and going to lunch. And then seeing another patient he'd seen for 50 years and going to dinner.
That's like Leonard. Have you been to the hardware store that was right next to me forever?
Yeah,
It was like a pool shop hardware store.
Yeah.
92 years old. And this man was on a wooden ladder, probably his old wood ladder that he had for 40 years. It was so rickety, and he couldn't see. He wore these big, thick glasses, and he passed away recently. But he's on top of the ladder, 92 years old. And he says I said, Leonard, what are you doing up there? Let me put that up there for you. He says, no, I just can't see. Is there a hole where I could stick this banner? I'm trying to hang up my pool tabs banner. And the ladder's wavering, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, if he falls. But that was his passion. That's what
You just got to keep going. But it was so interesting how, everybody but the social thing is now. So they say the number one fear in life is public speaking.
Yes.
But I've never been to a funeral where they said, "Well, thank God he's not public speaking." Have you ever had someone where you just put the white canvas in front of them and they just froze and said, I just can't.
Well, we had a little girl the other day. She was 13, and she said, I'm not going to paint. I'm just going to hang out at the party. I said, oh, stop it. And I put an apron on her. I said, you have to put an apron on. And I gave her a brush. And you know what it is? Every single person remembers the time that something happened where they realized they are not an artist, or they think they are not an artist. Somebody tells them, oh, that looks like horrible. I'll give you an example. Ooh, this got me going. We have a mobile studio now. We're on the go. And this grandmother comes in, and her two little boys, they come in, and we do fairs. So we're doing the Tempe Art Festival, and the grandmother drops the kids off, pays their $10 to do this little tiny canvas that we pre-sketch. And after they painted for about 15 minutes, she looks inside and says to the older one, who is about 8 or 9 years old, that looks really good, but your brother's looks like crap. And I saw his face just switch. And he was having such a good time. He was with his brother. His brother was telling him what a great job he's doing. He painted over it. He was 3 or 4 years old. He's a little tiny guy. They paint more of the feeling of what it is than the actual painting or staying in the lines. We don't worry about that so much when they're so little. And I saw him go dark. And it's stuff like that, people putting people down that they cut off. So this gal that came in, I guarantee there was somebody along the line that recently, it could have been a friend, something went wrong with artwork and she felt crushed. But then We got our painting. I got our brush. I told you can't mess up. I have all the people, adults and kids. Everybody says at the same time. I get on the mic and I say, everybody say, I can't mess up. So everybody says, I can't mess up. I'm like, say it louder. So everyone says, I can't mess up. Because you cannot mess up. You can't. And it renewed her faith, this gal that came in. And then the little boy that was in that's been sitting with me for a long, long time. For the last few months since it happened. And I think I have to have more awareness of how to talk to your children about art.
Yeah, and the same could be applied to their own body. I mean, so many people have body issues because
yes, it's the same kind of thing.
They think that, someone says, well, you're not attractive and you're supposed to look like this or paint like this or draw like this or sound like this. Like, why don't you just be unique and just look like yourself and paint like yourself? And like do you think anybody ever went up? Who's the musician who just got a Nobel Prize in literature?
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan. I mean, I can't imagine anybody telling Bob Dylan when he's little, you sound really good. I mean, I used to listen to him like him and Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody in school saying, Mick, you have a really nice voice. And they made it all the way to the top and got a Nobel Prize in literature. And I love his music. But I can remember back in the 70s listening to Bob Dylan like, can anybody be a singer?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was good. So, Journey, how did... You just had to throw a book in
random.
after comedy.
Bucket list.
Bucket list.
Yes,
Was this
it was a bucket list.
One hot night at the veggie
and it
bar?
wasn't meant to be an adult book. What happened was I do food art and I post it on social media.
Yeah.
And it's my daughter turned vegetarian
Food
when she was
art.
5 years old.
Wow.
And I love vegetables, but I had to get really good with vegetables.
First of all, again, what was the journey? Was it just what was the inspiration?
Carving vegetables. My dad was going on vacation and he left a bag of vegetables at our house. And I was like, wow, that looks like an art piece. So I played with it, turned it into an owl, and showed my kids and said, this is owl soup for dinner. And they ate all of it. And my daughter turned vegetarian when she was 5. We weren't vegetarian. And I thought, I need to start getting creative to introduce her to all these different fruits and vegetables and beans and proteins, vegetable proteins. And so I started putting these together. And I wanted to do a children's book. And I'm working on the children's book. It's almost completed. But I brought this to a publisher because everybody would see it on social media and say, I want to buy a book. I want to buy a book. I want to buy a book. So I put them all together and wrote these crazy stories in here. It's kind of like little poetry kind of stories.
Do they buy this book on your website or on Amazon?
They could buy it on the website. One hot night at the veggie bar. We have a website for that.
Tell me about your name, Be an Artist, because when I first saw it, it's like Bean Artist, B dot an artist.
I wanted to name it Be. Just be. Like, be who you are. Be expressive. Be creative.
To be or not to be?
Yes, to be or not to be. That's exactly what I wanted to call it. But my husband, being the practical lawyer, said, you can't name a place B. So he said, you have to add something else. And artist was his addition. But I think I should have capitalized the A on our sign because it looks like B dot 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 een, bean. That's what the comedians said. That's what they came up with.
Well, that's what their genius is at, finding something funny.
Yes.
Out of the ordinary.
So they definitely have used that one. Brian Kahatsu.
Yeah, man, you are a dynamo. So many.
And my website is not that great because I do the website too. I pretty much do everything.
You do the programming?
I do everything.
So you do your own website?
Yes, I do, and that's why it's kind of
No, it's a
rough.
Beautiful website.
Thank you.
It's
my dad put it together, and then I've tried to
Your dad put it together?
But the thing is, hiring people, so you train them and spend all these hours showing them how to do the website, how to do this, how to do that, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to Flagstaff this weekend.
Right.
And they won't show up for something, so I'm always there waiting for that. I've had a bad run. I have some great people now, but I've had a bad run in the hiring area.
But small business owners will say that. Mm-hmm. Okay, but let's go to one of the largest businesses in Arizona, the Arizona Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Well, they have a roster of 15 employees. Well, their 50 players determines whether you'll win the Super Bowl. So when you go to the NFL, the NBA, a hockey team, HR, if someone comes up to you and you say, well, what's the biggest challenge in your business? if you don't say HR, you're an amateur. If you said, well, it was the plumbing, it was electrical, it was getting supplies, it was my IT department, it was, if you said, I mean, can you imagine the Cardinals don't make the playoffs and they say, well, it was the artificial turf and the roof wouldn't retract and the marketing department was horrible and whoever was doing our twittering was not tweeting right. I mean, no.
Right.
It's always the people. So if someone is sophisticated, and the fact that you realize the number one problem or dilemma or challenge in your business is HR means you're elite.
Oh, well, thank you.
I mean, like right now, you got the guys who the Patriots, they haven't even re-signed Tom Brady to come back next year. The head guy at the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Rothschild, is having a pity. And people think, oh, they're just emotional drama queens. Well, remember when Phoenix Suns had a drama dispute with Charles Barkley and the owner?
I remember.
And has the Suns ever even won a championship? No, they haven't won one. So keeping your Charles Barkley, keeping your Ben Rothschild for the Steelers, keeping your, it's everything.
Yeah.
So, the thing I've been most proud of in my business, I have, half a dozen people that have gone from 20 to 30 years. And those are your franchise players, your victories.
Yes.
For these things where you train an employee, they're all up to speed, and they say, well, I'm calling in sick, I'm going, yeah.
If you know anybody, send them my way.
And humans are, and I think they get more and more confused because as we went from the telegraph to the telephone to the internet, this has more power than an IBM mainframe when I was in high school. And now everybody's walking. So you think of just predictability and, man, we're so exact. But the person holding the phone hasn't evolved an hour since the telegraph. And people are just wild animals, and they're crazy.
Yeah.
And, so focusing on that you're focusing on the HR issue, that means you've mastered everything else. You've done your own website, you've written a book, you've been in business 3 years, you're crushing it.
Oh, well, thank you.
So now you just got to work on your Charles Barkleys and your,
That's
Rothschilds.
I have one Charles Barkley and my family. They're my backup crew. My kids.
So I want to end on that. I can't believe we went an hour. That was the fastest hour in the world. One last question.
Yes.
When you read business articles, when there's a lot of people listening to you right now that are sitting in a cubicle thinking, I wish I had the guts that she has to follow her passion or her dream. But they got this safety. They got this paycheck. Yes. And they're like, I've been working at Intel I've been working for this company and I hate it, but it's predictable and it's steady. And then they're looking at some entrepreneur like you. What would you? But they want to be like you, but they don't want to. It's kind of like they walk around the swimming pool and they know they want to learn how to swim, but they just can't pull the trigger and dive in.
I have the quote that brought me out into this studio, and I use it all the time. It was actually from Mountain Park community. This Pastor Allen, he's this great guy, and the pastor there, he says, you have to get out of your ordinary to experience the extraordinary. And he kept saying that over and over again. You have to get out of your ordinary.
Text me that. Text me. You have to get out of your ordinary.
Experience the extraordinary.
To experience the extraordinary.
And I really sat with that for days, and I thought, you know what? This is, what I'm doing right now. It's fun, and it's not uncomfortable. It's when you get out of your comfort zone. And if you don't like your job, you have to think of what your passion is and how you could go in that direction and live your true life, live who you are. And don't be afraid of it, because even if you fail in the next part of it, it will just bring you to something bigger. And that's the excitement of life. That's what I feel like the excitement of life is, not knowing what you're going to walk in next. Like I might meet you today, like we just met, and you can introduce me to that lady or the comedian, and then all of a sudden I could own a comedy club next year that I didn't expect. Just weird things like that. I'm not saying I would do that, but things like that just take your little cues, like at Barnes & Noble when they gave me the furniture. It was a sign. And take these little
You keep saying
pieces.
the sign. Are you religious or spiritual?
I'm spiritual. Yeah,
spiritual?
I'm spiritual.
But you mentioned a church.
Well, I go, I don't go every week.
Right, but which
I
one
go
did you
once
say?
a- Mountain Park Community Church.
And where is that one at?
That is the big church right off the freeway, right off Fry Road. Off of, right across from Pecos Park.
It's what?
The one right next to it.
By 48th and Elliott, or by Pecos and
Pecos.
48th?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, Pecos and right across from Pecos Park off I-10.
So was that the one that used to be at 24th Street?
Yes, the one they...
Had to tear down for the freeway. And one last question. You said you give me an hour of your life, and we're at hour 5.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
One
I'm good.
last question.
I don't have to do that painting.
Because here's a gripe I hear from, so I'm 55, so all my friends, their kids are going to college. I hear so many parents saying, I'm sick that I'm paying for a college degree. They think if you get a college degree, you should be an accountant or an engineer. You should get something that you need to go get a job. And if you become an electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, you can go to Intel, and their daughter wants to be an art history major. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that parent?
My parents were very smart, and I wonder what would have happened if I had an art degree. I don't know what would have happened.
Because listening to you, I think you should have been an engineer.
Oh, an engineer. But you have to have your special. If you're going to be a lawyer, you have to go to law school. You're not going to get hired. But for me, my plan was always, I knew that I would get a job. I've always had whatever job I wanted. Even in college, if I walked into a place and I wanted to work there, I would keep coming back. I'm just that type of person.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to hire me? You're not going to find better than me. Just be confident in what you do. And go for it. I always say, just go for it. What do you have to lose?
I know, and what you said affected me for 30 years. I mean, you would need an employee for something, and you'd put a job out, and people would send in resumes, but you hadn't even got time. It's been 2 or 3 days because you're busy. You hadn't even got to yet. But that one that you came back, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm frazzled, and you go back and you got like 9 resumes, and which one are you? And just the fact that you came back.
This drives me crazy. Don't go with your child to an interview. If they want to work somewhere, parents, don't go to an interview with your child. Send your child, whether they're 16, 17. That's a big mistake.
Yeah.
A big mistake.
Well, what are they calling us now? The helicopter parents?
Yes.
And see, that's
don't do
another
that.
that's another demographic. Like I grew up, there were 7 kids in the family. Mom couldn't have been a helicopter. I mean, you have 7 kids and they run 7 different ways.
Kids. She's just go get a job.
and I think there's pros and cons to everything. Everything has a trade-off. But I think it was pretty cool in my childhood that I could leave Saturday morning, walk 8 blocks back to my school, and play on the basketball courts, and maybe go home with one of my friends and spend the night. And you just relied on that
like
mom
that anymore,
would call the other mom. By the way, your kid's over here, and he's spending the night with David Hornbrook, and just wanted to give you an FYI. And the next morning when you're bored, you walk back home. I mean, you just don't see that anymore.
Yeah, no, you don't.
And look at me, I turned out perfect.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm thinking, that would be awesome. That's what happened. I would like to know what steak tastes like, but I'm not choking it down because I'm sorry.